Hi everyone, and welcome to the workshop and the masterclass for the journal blueprint. I am absolutely delighted that you are here. We do have a workbook and replay, and for those people that come live, there's going to be a mini course, and I'll let you know when that's available. So without further ado, let's dive into the workshop. Now, everybody learns in different ways. So I've got some PowerPoint slides, so if you'd like to read the slides, that's great. I've turned on the captions, so if you like to read the words rather than pay attention to everything else, you have the captions. What I do suggest is that you get a journal and you scribble and make lots of notes, but I'll talk about that in a little while. So let's get started. And obviously, for those people who don't want to look at anything, then all you need to do is close your eyes, except when you're scribbling, and listen to my voice as I'm talking you through the workshop. So let's have a look at the workshops. So we are going to go from the beginning. So as I've said, welcome to the workshop. I am absolutely delighted that you are here. And some of you will have met me before. My name is Dale, and I'm a journal coach. And what I do is help you take your story, your transformation, and your ideas and turn them into something worth writing about. And that's a content-rich journal. So it's a transformational journal as opposed to a much, much bigger non-fiction book. And we'll talk about those things. So what is a content-rich journal? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through what one of those is. We're going to talk about why you might be creating one. We need to think about, well, who are we creating it for? So whose life do we want to transform? How are we going to do it? And then the what else is looking at how you create a roadmap of products and services out of your journal, but then how you also use your journal to help you create awareness around it. So the picture that you see on the screen is really a representation of what the journal blueprint is. So, we start with ideas, we play with our ideas and our process. And the way that I do it is we create an outline, and from the outline, think about lead magnets and roadmaps so that we've got a vision of what we want to do with everything. When we've outlined our process and we kind of know what we're doing, we design a framework. And that's going to give us a structure. And then within the framework, we have another framework, which is models and prompts and exercises. Then, of course, you've got to write, edit, publish, and then share it with your clients. So I'm going to talk you through this process, and hopefully you'll get lots of pings, lots of aha moments and some inspiration, and you go, I know exactly what I want to do. So, like I said, ideas, inspiration. And what I hope is that you will understand how powerful this is for your business. You're going to get, as I've said, a workbook. And for the live attendees, as a thank you for turning up live, there's a mini course and a replay for everybody else. This is where you can pick up your workbook and the replay, but I will be emailing it out. Can't get my teeth in today. I'm going to email that out and you'll be able to pick that up and watch it and dissect it to your heart's content. So a little bit about me. Many of you know me. I've been a book coach, well, actually for over 13 years. I have helped lots and lots of people write and publish books. They have mainly been self-help books that contain personal story. Some of them have been memoir. And what I noticed, or I couldn't help but notice because I've been working with lots of people, is I see people struggling with their story. I see people struggling with their writing. There's a whole lot of mindset stuff as well, and then the marketing. And so I thought there's got to be an easier, more effective, and more exciting way to get our message out there. And I love creating content. And I stopped writing big books, 50 to 60,000 words, and I started creating what I call little books, journals. And I thought, I bet there's a whole load of people who would love to do this as well, because they can get something out, build their authority, help their clients, and they don't have to struggle for 6 or 9 or 12 months to write a big book. Now, there's lots and lots of reasons why people don't write and publish. I'm not immune from this. I have written several memoirs and have unpublished them all. As far as I'm concerned, what they did is they helped me heal. At the time, it was important. Now it's not. It's in the past. But I've done this. I've got lost in the story. You know, we all have been through so much, and it's like, well, which part of the story, and how do I structure it, and how do I present it? And then there's that whole thing about, how do I share my darkest moments? Well, I decided I don't want to, because it's in the past. So for me, that's no longer important for me to get all of those stories out there. Been through it, you know, got the t-shirt. I've done a lot of healing, but I find that this is a really quite a big issue for a lot of people. Then there's that thing of, oh my God, I've got to write, you know, 40, 50, 60, however many thousand words. You know, people want shorter books these days. They want something that is easier to consume. They want to start it, do the stuff, get the outcome, and then go on their merry way. That's a generalization, but one can get this real sense of overwhelm. You know, you've outlined it and it's like, well, that looks great. You know, I've got 12 or 10, 14, however many chapters. And then it's like, oh, now I've got to structure it and write it. And, you know, and then, you know, we have lots and lots of mindset issues. You know, am I good enough? Who's going to read it? Who cares? Etc. etc. So, you know, there's a whole lot of stuff that is going on in lots of people's heads. This is another one of mine. It's called scope creep. Try saying that when you haven't got your teeth in. Like overstuffing your book with too many things. And, you know, we know, I'll talk about this later, we know a lot of stuff. And it's like, oh, they're going to want to know that. No, and they're going to need to know that. And before you know it, you've got 80,000 words. And it's like, I can't publish a book of 80,000 words. It'd be like this. And, you know, you've got to start taking stuff out. So what is lovely about a journal is it's a small part of that bigger picture. And you can write, you know, lots of journals. You don't just have to have one journal. And then there's, is this the right book? And, you know, what is it I want to talk to people about? But if you're creating a journal, it's for a specific purpose. You want to teach, coach, counsel, provide therapy, healing around this particular thing. So it's much, much easier. So instead of struggling and thinking, you know, I'm going to write that book and it's going to get lost in, you know, all the other books that are out there, you write a journal that is practical and you're going to use pretty much on a day-to-day basis with your clients. So, you know, I'm guessing that some of these things will resonate. You might have some other ideas of your own about, you know, why you've never got it done. And I promise you, writing a journal is so much easier. And here's what people do: procrastinate. So some people start and then they give up, and some people don't ever start. I've had people come to me for coaching, and they just can't start. I remember years ago, I had such a lovely person. Oh gosh, right at the very beginning of my book coaching career. And he just couldn't start. We had this amazing idea, fantastic outline. I sent him off to a mindset coach, and he just literally couldn't do it because he worked on lean processes, but he wanted to do it in a spiritual way, and he just thought that his audience wouldn't accept him. So he just didn't start and he gave up. And, you know, that happens so many times, and it is such a shame. So let's change this. Let's do something easier, more effective. And I think it's more exciting because you've got you got something in your hand in a really quick space of time. So although storytelling is massively popular, and people do want to hear stories, what I'm suggesting here is we move from telling the story to actually sharing the transformation. So the value isn't always in the narrative that we tell. People want to know, like, how did we get here? But it's the transformational process. Lots of people want to know, well, okay, so I know you've been through like a whole load of whatever. I want to know how we transform. And it might be that you don't have a horrible story to tell. You might have quite a fun story to tell. And people do love the stories, but mostly it's kind of like, I want to know how you get over here. And what I find for myself these days is that when I buy a book and it is steeped in story, often I don't care. It's like, I've read your story on your webpage, so I get an understanding of whatever, but then you fill your book with a story, and actually I want the meat of how to do something. Now that might be just me, it might not. I think we have shorter attention spans, so I think that having a journal will help those people who like me just get in and out and do the stuff. So you will all, oops, bash my microphone. You will all be familiar with a journal, a journal that just has lines in it. And you may or may not journal. It's getting on my nerves, scraping on my desk. So you may or may not journal. I've journaled for years and years and years. And for me, it's very much it's about getting clarity, but it's also a healing process. But I also love journals with structure. I like journals that I can scribble in, and I like journals that I can use with a blank journal. In fact, I love journaling, but a content-rich transformational journal is a journal that has some kind of structure to it. It's got a process that people can go through, and then it's got framework. So you've got, and again, we're going to talk about this. It's got a framework, and then within the framework, there is another framework, which, contains prompts and exercises and stuff like that. And it's great because it's shorter. It has no story, or it might have a little bit of story in the introduction, but it's designed to add value and help change your client's life. Now, what you can do is, that's probably not relevant for that, but you could create a journal, and then later on, and I've had clients do this, actually write a book and go, I'm not telling my story, I'm not telling my story. And then eventually they've come back and added their story. So you can do that with a journal. So you can create this journal, and then later on you can build a book around it, or you can create a series of journals, however that works for you, and however that works for your business and the clients that you want to serve. So I've got, as you can imagine, I've got lots of journals and things, but this is an idea of 2 journals that I've got. So I started off running a program where I offered a life audit, where we looked at different kinds of goals. So we did the Wheel of Fortune, we looked at heart's desires, and we looked at vision and vision goals, and different ways of bringing all those goals together. So when you had done this, what happened next was we got all our goals set out. So the next thing to do is, and I love the Wheel of Life. I actually, although I created this for clients, I created it for me. So this keeps me on top of my goals. So you can see that you can build a family of products for your clients to use. So you can start off with the one thing, and then you can take them into something else. And, that gives you a touch point each month. So each month you can review their goals and stuff like that, at least in this scenario. So in a nutshell, it's just shorter and easier to write and publish. the other thing that I love about this is you often see people writing and publishing books. I've done it myself, hold my hands up. We chase Amazon #1 bestseller status, and the way that works is we become #1 in a category where there's not many books. And the last book that I published, a fairly big book, I got #1 in loads of categories, and I got #1 in like new releases and stuff like that. It's hard work. Now you can still go after getting a bestseller status, but what you end up doing is you end up focusing on the book rather than the value that you deliver. So do it if you want, but you don't have to, which means it makes marketing so much easier for you. And then you can create loads and loads of other things around your journal to help you build your business. And like I said, they are a stepping stone to a book or to a series of journals. So let me just remind you of the journal blueprint. So we have our ideas, our story, our transformation. We outline what it is that we're going to deliver. And from that, we create a lead magnet or magnets and a roadmap of other products. Now, your lead magnet could be a challenge that you run live. You see lots of people running live challenges. It can be an ebook, be a workshop like I'm running here. It could be a mini course. So from that outline, straight away, you can create massive value and start collecting people's emails so that when you get ready to publish and you want to put your journal in someone's hands, their names are on your email list. And then, as I said, what we do is we go round this process. We design a framework, then a framework within a framework, write, edit. I make it all sound so easy. Write, edit, design the cover, publish, and Yahoo, it's in the hands of your clients. It's all a process, and if you follow it step by step, it actually isn't difficult. But when you look at it like that, it's like, oh, I've got to do all those things. It's just a process. And as you can see, it's all chunked down. If you chunk it down, it is a whole lot easier. So why do we need a journal? Well, for me, it's how do we translate our unconscious competence, the stuff that we just know. When you work with your clients or you work with a coach, they just seem to know stuff, yeah? And what we need to do is get that genius, that brilliance out of your head and create that process, that flow and your framework. So why do you need one? Oh my goodness me, it adds so much value to your sessions with your clients. Now, a client might turn up and you might be a massive fan of journaling. And, I've said to people before, just pop to, wherever and buy yourself a journal. You could create a blank journal like that with all your branding on the front so that when they come to a session, no excuses about journaling, you can give them a journal and you can give them your transformational journal if you want to. So, you've got fully branded products. But what is lovely about this is you can go through a session and then you can say, right, I need you to go to page 79 and I need you. Well, actually, this is a perfect date exercise. So we probably want to go to page 76. So you can give them the work to do when they go home in their own time, and then you can bring that back to a session and you can go through that. And you can do this in masterminds, in programs, you can do it in courses and all sorts of stuff. So it's not confined to one-to-one sessions. Clients can do the work without you. Now, what do I mean by that? So you may have people who come to you who want to work with you. It's not the right time. They perhaps haven't got the money right at the moment. Well, they can start working on this. They get a real sense of who you are. And then later on, they can come and work with you. And as far as marketing is concerned, it's a client attraction tool. And it helps you build your brand and business because we've got this roadmap of other products and services that you can sell to people. So it's not a one-off thing. You have a framework, a blueprint. Right, so how are you going to get the best out of this? For me, it's always, listen, I do look at slides. I like to have the workbook open and I like to listen, but I don't focus on slides. I tend to listen more these days and scribble while someone is talking, and I do that all the time. So scribble, get your ideas out, even if it's just one word for now. I think it's about having an open mind, because often we come to workshops and it's like, I know I want to do something, I'm not quite sure what it is. Open your mind, yeah, and just let all those ideas come, scribble them down, and then reflect. And I'm going to talk about this observation thing a little bit later on, because I think when you come to a workshop, if you sit and scribble stuff, take a week out, notice what you notice, and then come back to the replay and the workbook, and then work on what it is that you want to do. Right, let me just pause for a swig of my tea. So the zone of brilliance, this is where we're doing things with passion, purpose. We absolutely love what we're doing. We are really in our element. But the zone of brilliance gives us our why. And if we don't know why we're doing it, what is the point? So, we want to add value to our clients' lives, and we want to build our brand and our business, but it's really thinking about what is the big why of this project. So it's creating the foundations for meaningful content, because if you don't know why and then you don't know who, then you don't know what it is that you are going to be creating. So finding your why is really important. This is important for whatever we do in life. When we find our why, we know where we're going. It guides our actions, just like our values guide our actions and decisions. So does finding our why. And when you clearly understand what you do, you can align all your efforts with your values, your passions, your purpose, and your long-term goals. And for me, it's when I know why, when I have those moments when I don't want to do something, it's focus, motivation, and I think there's this sense of resilience, especially when you have those days when you seriously do not want to do anything. So it's very important that you find your why, not just for your business, but why you're going to create this content. So the zone of brilliance, there's a whole load of things that I've created that talks about what it actually means, but it's where you can do something, whatever that might be, easily, that unconscious competence, and you adore doing it. I love creating content. Can't help it. Always loved it. Love writing. Like playing with words and models and strategies and ideas. And I was going to say something. I was a saying, and then I realized it's probably not a good saying, but it's a place where passion, purpose, and meaning meet, and you're profitable, because that makes sense. If you're going to do what you love, you need to get paid for doing it. Zone of brilliance might also be where you are doing, real good in the world. So you might be creating journals and workbooks and things like that, because it's about helping to solve world problems or community problems. The other thing about the zone of brilliance is it's a place where you challenge yourself, like get out of your comfort zone. You don't want to stagnate. I hate being bored. Like all these things that I create, I don't do one at a time. I start something and then I get it to a point and I think, right, now I'm bored with that. And then I go and do something else, and then I come back, and then it's whew. And that for me is always taking myself out of my comfort zone, because I'm always challenging myself to come back and finish things that I've started, because I just love creating, but I'm much better these days at only having a couple of things on the go and actually finishing them all. So I do finish things, but you might be a little bit like me. But let's talk about this model, this zone of brilliance. So I think often, probably more when we start our careers, we're in this area of discontent. We don't have many skills. We feel like we're kind of low paid labor. We don't like it. There's no meaning. It doesn't flow. It's really awful. And then, we move into a place of capability. We've got skills we don't enjoy. And you might be there now. You might be doing stuff. The reason that you've come to this is you might be thinking of changing direction and getting out of capability. When we get out of capability, we go into mastery. So, I'm guessing that lots of people are in mastery. They're doing stuff, they feel confident, they can do it with their eyes closed, but something is missing. There's some kind of meaning and passion and purpose that is missing. And what we want to do is get out of that comfort zone, because that's what that is. That's a comfort zone, and do things that are fillers, with joy, that we actually enjoy doing, and we feel like we're doing something really meaningful in the world. And for me, where my zone of brilliance is, I want to do things that are fun, creative, and meaningful to me and to the world. So why comes back to, we need to be in this zone of brilliance. We need to know why we're doing this, because if we don't know why, we're not going to do it. And we want to be in flow. We want to love what we do. We don't want to be going, running a business or going to work or whatever it is, feeling like, every day is a drudge day. So like I said, for me, it's creative, it's fun, it's meaningful, and it's profitable. So let's get ourselves into that zone of brilliance and really think about our why. So when you've got your why, you've got a framework. You've got a framework for harnessing what you do. And like I said, it's a place where we're constantly, pushing ourselves out of the comfort zone and pulling ourselves into the zone of brilliance. And, we're doing what we came here to do, and we're attracting the people who want and need to work with us. So that's the zone of brilliance. Now, I've put the Clifton Strengths Finder up because often if you're watching this and you're thinking, I want to change direction, I want to do something a little bit different, I want to, really challenge my comfort zone, get into that zone of brilliance, but there's, I feel like there's something missing, something that I need to discover about myself. I did two things a couple of years ago. I went back to my human design and had a look at what that meant, but I also did the Clifton Strengths Finders, and this is absolutely brilliant. So when it came up with my top 5, and I was like, oh, yes, that's me. Yes, that's why I love to do what I do. Yes, that's how the reason I can help people, because I do those things in that way. So if you are at a crossroads, then I do highly recommend that you go and do the Clifton Strengths Finders. For me, it was pretty life-changing. So there is a price, but I can't remember what it is. But if you head to their website, it's dead easy to do, and you get lots of reports, and they are really, really useful. So I just invite you to go to your workbook and think about where you are, and then how you get into that zone of brilliance, and just think about one thing that you can do. Now, this next thing is called my journal exercise. You may well have done this with me before in the past. So I'm going to run through the exercise. And this is one of those things that starts the old grey matter whizzing around. It seems very simplistic, but actually it's very powerful. So I'm going to run through it, and then I'm going to stop the presentation and show you how to do it. So let me just run through it. So what we're going to work out is what journal, why, who's it for, and what we're going to do with it. So we take a sheet of A4 paper, fold it in half to create a book, and then we scribble various things on it. And we use this after we have done the exercise to help us to just inspire us and think about different ideas and stuff. But it's the start of the process, and it is actually very, very powerful. The blurb, the bit on the back, so every book Every journal has something written on the back, and that's also on Amazon. So we do that last bit in the morning. So we do the first 2 bits. We put this under the pillow. Honestly, sleep on it. Promise you it works. And when you wake up in the morning, just scribble your blurb. And when you've done it, what you can do is you can take this out and share with other people and go, I'm creating a journal. And they'll say, well, hopefully they're going to say, and what is your journal about? And you can say, well, this is what I'm going to do. And then hopefully they'll ask you questions. That'll give you more ideas. And it is a sense of accountability, because you can take this to various places and it's like, I am creating my journal. So let me stop the share, stop the presentation, and show you how this is done. So 1 sheet of A4 paper, and you fold it in half. Do this without thinking. Promise me you're just going to stick your pen on the paper. What is the title of your journal? What is it? What's the title of your journal? Don't think about it, just scribble it. It's not set in stone, you can change it later. And on the inside, you're going to divide it into 3. So what is this journal about? And what will my client, my reader, get from it? In the middle, you're going to draw a matchstick person, and you're going to put the attributes of the person that you want to attract. So they might be male, female, they might be both genders, there might be of a particular age, they might be spiritual, they might be in corporate, whatever. So just scribble some things around your matchstick person. And then this bit is your why. So why are you writing this journal? And why will your reader or your client want to use it? So it's what, who, why. Sleep on it. And then in the morning, what you want to be doing is writing the blurb, and take it out with you and share it with people. I promise it is really, really powerful, and it's going to start you thinking like, what am I actually going to be writing about? Okay, let's restart my slideshow. So that was my journal exercise. Very, very powerful. Please, please, please make sure that you are scribbling away and you are really thinking about what that journal might be about. So whenever we create anything, we need to think about what the foundations of that thing is. And for me, that's very much about creating a vision. So your vision should inspire you, but it also should inspire your clients, and it sets the scene for where are we going, and it helps you to visualize what that future success might look like in whatever way success is for you. Now, when I say the words vision and visualize, some people go, no, that's not me. I can't visualize. See, sense, feel, know. You'll have a way of knowing, sensing, feeling, or even seeing your vision. So it doesn't matter if you're visual or not, you will be able to create a compelling vision. And it is, this is where I'm going. And I think when we have that picture, that image of the future, it inspires us. We can set goals. We have a framework for our journey ahead. And when you write your vision, write it as if it were already true. So it's not I am going to or I will do, it's I am doing this. So the vision is going to help you define creation, what it is you're going to create. It gives you a sense of purpose. And I think as well, it's the starting point for that inspirational message that you want to get out there. So in your workbook, you will have a whole load of stuff about creating a vision. I just invite you here and now, just write a sentence. It doesn't matter if it's a vision you already have. It doesn't matter if it's just 5 words and you're going to build on it. You might want to do it as a mind map. So just think about what your vision is. And when you've done your vision, you might want to think about what your mission might be. I think often as small businesses or coaches or counselors, or we forget about creating vision and mission statements. And you don't have to share them with anyone, but they're for you to create that future picture of what you want to do and where you want to go. So I think that when we're talking about all of this stuff, all of these different journals, and we're going to create that roadmap, it's a good idea to know where we're going with it, because if we don't have that vision, we might start creating and then we get into procrastination and we give up and we don't start and stuff like that. So just scribble, just one sentence about what your vision might be for the journey ahead. So the next part of the process is, who on earth are you creating this for? This is a really, really important thing. I'm sure you've been on many, many workshops where people talk about ideal clients and ideal readers and stuff like that. We do need to have an idea of who this is for, because when we write something, it's as if we're speaking to one person, and we are addressing their needs, their wants, their challenges, their desires. And not only do we know who they are, we get a lot of clarity about what kind of products and services. What I always find amusing about this is that you define an ideal client. So let's say you say, I want to work with women who are over 40, who live in Spain, for example, and then comes along a man who's 20 that lives in the UK, and you think, where did he come from? But we need to start somewhere. So start to map that out. You've already started it with the My Journal exercise. So now what we want to do is really just go deeper. Just go deeper and try to work out who that person might be. Now, when you know who it is easier to write, because you are talking to one person. You're not talking to all those people over there. They may be the right kind of audience for you, but when you've got a picture of a person that you absolutely want to speak to, it's only that person, you're creating an emotional connection, and that makes for a better product, a better journal. Plus, it's more likely to sell, because you can say, this journal takes these kind of people through this kind of process. The other thing to remember is this is not about you. It's about them. This is not about what you think they want. It's about what they want. And that's where, observing, listening, watching comes in. And we are never our ideal reader. We used to be, but we're not now. Or we might have been, but we're definitely not now, because we've grown, we've healed, we've changed. So your journal is always about what bothers them, not you. We have to put ourselves in their shoes. We have to take ourselves, back in time. Right here, right now, we have lots of knowledge, skills, and experience. We've been on a massive journey. But there was a time when you didn't know. And so we need to get back into that state of, what was it that we didn't know that we now know? So the journey is, clients come to us, this, clients come to you, we take them through a process. Yippee, there's a fantastic outcome. Now, I just want to say something about outcomes, and that is, when you create something, whatever kind of journal that might be, there's an outcome. And when you're in creation mode, you're going to say, people are going to go through this process, and the result of doing my process is that this will happen. Now, that's great, because that gives us focus. But you can never guarantee, I promise you can never guarantee that someone will do your process and get the outcome that you desire. Now, as long as they got some outcome, then we're on to a winner. So don't be precious about your outcome, but you need to know what that is. You're going to do all that stuff, and these are the benefits, and that's what you're going to get. So go and have a look at your workbook and start to answer these questions. So what is that transformation, and how will that transformational process help your ideal client? and that's going to help you in the whole creation process. So head off to your workbook, obviously not now, but just do some more scribbling about who that ideal reader client is while we're going through the workshop. So this is such an important bit, because if we don't know the transformation, we can't create the product. So let me just take a sip of my tea. So what's your story and how do you transform lives? Now, we talked earlier about the fact that many people don't write their books because they don't want to get tangled up in the story. But the story underpins the transformation. And it's not the whole story. It's the part that you're going to use that helps you discover what the transformation is. We also need to think about the story, because we can use that in the introduction and we can use it in our marketing. So we need to think about what that story is. So it creates the foundation for working out what the transformation is. So the transformation is going to give you a theme, whatever that theme is, whatever journey you're taking people on, and it gives you a purpose, which in this case, we're looking to transform people's lives. So we want to think about what got us here. It's not everything. It's not the whole journey. It's not our entire life. It's the thing that we want to teach in our journal. So when we know our story, and I'm guessing that you know your story, you might not know your theme. One of the things that is quite interesting is when you start to map out your kind of like life timeline, you sometimes find a different theme that actually is the strongest theme. So you might have been teaching and coaching and helping clients heal with one thing, and actually find that there's something else under there. So you could start with a journal which is about the thing that you do, and then move forward, because again, if you're looking to grow your business, you're looking to grow your services and your products, then you might migrate into another theme. So we want to find the theme so that we've got a strong story, a strong message. So a transformational process is a structured approach, and I put it in quotes because it's not always linear, and I'll come on to that. So it is structured, it's not always linear, and it will make sense, but it's about creating a shift in perspective and behavior in your clients. So what we want to do is create this kind of rough timeline with turning points. Now, the way that I do it is I get big rolls of brown wrapping paper and I put them over the kitchen table. I get my coloured pens and my post-it notes and stuff like that, and I divide my life up into blocks of 7 or 10 years, depending on the purpose of doing the timeline. And then I just scribble stuff that comes to me, and this might take a week. So the reason I like the big roll of brown paper over the kitchen table is fold it up and take it away. And what you're doing is, when you've got it as a big picture, we don't want to stand in the story, but we can stand back and look at it, and we're going to start to see that maybe something happened in childhood over here that affected something over here that affected something over here. And we can start to see where we have created turning points, where we have started to transition out of whatever it was that we were in into wherever it is we want to go. And I just want to say that it's not, none of this is all about, moving through trauma. It could be that you have a ceremony process. It's not always about the bad stuff, but it is about creating a shift in perspective and behavior. Like I said, it's like reframing people's mindset so that, they walk away changed. But our story helps us to find those themes and the purpose by giving us the turning points that give us, in a sense, a transformational process. When you do it, it'll start to make sense to you. But here's our big problem. We have this thing called unconscious competence. We know how to do stuff. So anyone who comes into a learning arena doesn't really know. They don't know what they don't know. And then they go through they know they don't know, and then they know they do, but they still need some practice, and then we just do it. So let's talk about my cup of tea. So unconscious competence. So if I said to you, describe to me how you make a cup of tea. So you'd say, well, fill the kettle, switch it on, get a cup and put a tea bag in. Yeah, of course. But actually, you've got to walk to the kettle. You've got to put your hand around the handle. You've got to pick it up. Probably needs water, so you might need to go to the sink, or you might open a bottle of water, and you've got to switch it on, and then you've got to go to the cupboard and get the cup, and then you've got to get your tea bag, and if it's my tea bag, it needs to be, right? We just do it. Just think for a moment how to tie your shoelaces. I couldn't tell you how to do it, and I don't know if you went to a school where you had to tie a tie. I probably could put one on and do it, but I couldn't tell you how to do it now. But that it never leaves you. But we are all unconsciously competent in our zone of brilliance. And what we need to do is unbundle all of that so we can help our clients to go through their transformational process. So this is about making you aware that we might miss some steps, and it's important not to. So for example, you might be a specialist in stress and anxiety, and you provide people with tools for managing their stress or anxiety and not getting into burnout. But what was it like before you knew how to do this? Because most of us come into this work, where we're creating journals and things, because we've been through stuff and we want to help other people not have to go through it. We want them to be able to get from A to B rather than, all over the place like that. So, what was it like before you became unconsciously competent in your zone of brilliance? What questions were you asking? So here's an example of this is a Kubler-Ross. It's the grief curve, and people use it in organizational change as well. So if you can see in here that there are very clear demarcation points. So if you're in shock and denial, what questions were you asking? When you were in anger, what questions were you asking? What were the challenges you were facing? And just right here, right now, think about what you didn't know. What you didn't know that you now know. Just write that down. What didn't you know that you now know? And I think, when we can see a framework like that, it helps us to think about, well, that's what a process looks like. And these are the kind of questions and things that I should be asking at this bit, and then at this bit, and then at this bit. And, this Kubler-Ross curve is a great example. It's a 5-step process. And I know lots of people do it with lots more steps, but if we look at it like this, it's 5 steps and 5 parts of a transformational process. So transformational process, do this, do this, do this. So this self-love workbook is do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. So it's a step-by-step process. So I always like to have things in sets of 8. Don't ask me why, I don't know. I just like the number 8. I think it's manageable. So, with this workbook, we can have an introduction, we can have 8 steps, and then a piece on reflection. So this is your standard transformational process. But actually, you might do something that is maybe a bit more flowing and a bit more intuitive. So here, it's in blocks of 8. We have the wheel of self-love, which is a little bit like the wheel of life. So if I show you a wheel of life and just describe what we do. So with a wheel of life, you will probably be very familiar with it. You assess each of the areas, and then when you look at each of the areas, you decide what it is your priority that you want to work on. And then you will reassess your goals, you will look at your habits and all sorts of bits and pieces. So when I create stuff, I like a step-by-step process, but I like the intuitive flow. So I've adopted the wheel of life, if you like, for some of my workbooks, so that people can look at and say, well, where am I this month? What do I need to work on? So it's still a step-by-step process. So they start off with the let's evaluate where I am, and then the rest of it is another framework, another process. So it might be step by step by step, or it might be let's check in and then let's go step by step by step. Yeah. So thinking about what I've just talked about, what is your process? What kind of questions were you asking? And thinking about that framework, how does that work for you? What is your process? Just scribble 5 or maybe 8 words down. So each of those words represents a step in your process. Okay. Now we want to ask the question, what content and why? And if you're anything like me, you have masses and masses of content. So this is me sat in the middle. I know a lot of stuff. We all do. We have been on many, many, many journeys through our life. So when we come to create this first journal, it's going to be a little bitty bit over there. And we're going to create other products and services, and that's going to be that little bitty bit over there. And we might never use all the wisdom that we've accumulated over the years, but this is where scope creep comes in, because we know all this stuff and it's like, we want to tell everybody everything that we know. No, you don't. All you want to do is you want to create this bit that is really important for right now. And the way that I like to do this is just scribble a rough outline. What would I like to see in my journal? And then just sleep on it. And when you reflect, when you maybe go for a walk or have a shower or sit on the terrace and daydream while you're staring at the hills or the stars, you might find some ahas and some inspiration. So if you do a bit of a brainstorm, then you can allow that process to keep coming to you, and you can check that it flows. You can feel into it and you can talk it through. I use my mobile phone quite a lot when I'm creating content. So when I create an outline, like the timeline, if I create a timeline, I will talk it through. And likewise, the same thing here. So just create a rough outline of what you think this journal might be. You know, you don't have to hold yourself to it. It very likely will change, but you just need to get something out of your head right now. Sleep on it. See how you feel in the morning. Now, many, many, many years ago, I used to teach knowledge management, and it's quite a simple step in this whole process, because we've got lots and lots of knowledge, and we need to do a knowledge audit. So we've got our outline, and it's like, well, what kind of content am I going to put in there? What have I got that I can get hold of and repurpose? So we you know, there's going to be some of it that we can repurpose, and some of it that we are going to create, to write. In fact, let me just go back to this diagram here. Can it be articulated? Tacit knowledge is in your head. So you haven't written it, you haven't recorded it, you haven't told anybody, it's all in your head. Has it been articulated? Yes, I've written blogs and videos and stuff like that. And what we taught people in knowledge management, you're not going to want to lick stuff, but if you can lick it, it exists. So those two things together is your vast well of knowledge, yeah, of your wisdom. So we want to work out, there's my outline, there's my knowledge audit, what can I repurpose, and what do I need to write? So you're not starting from scratch. You are bound to have stuff. You are bound to have stuff. Look, you know, you've got books and blogs, or maybe you don't have books, but you've got, you know, training stuff. Maybe you've got manuals and reports and articles. Perhaps you've recorded videos and you've got transcripts, and, you know, you have stuff. I was talking to someone who wanted to create a deck of oracle cards, and I suggested to her that what she did, and there were reasons for this, instead of creating the actual cards, is to create an oracle book deck. And she had been writing stuff on Facebook for years and years, and I said, what you need to do is decide what, let's say it's 48 cards. Go back through all your posts, put all your posts into a Word document, and then create a framework, and then you can put them into an oracle book, and then much later on, when you are feeling up to it, you can create a deck of cards. So you can repurpose content from anywhere. There's never a situation where you don't have stuff that you can reuse, never. So I invite you to have that rough outline, think about your kind of like frameworks, we'll talk about those in a bit more, and think about what knowledge you have. Is it in your head that you have to articulate, or have you already written it down? And, you know, in terms of articulating it, you can record it and get a transcript. You don't have to sit and write it all. There's lots of different ways of getting stuff done. So, but doing a knowledge audit is going to save you an awful lot of time. Let's talk frameworks. What is a framework? So frameworks gives us structure in inverted quotes, because structures can be fixed, as in do this, do this, do this. So it's a guide, but they can also be flowing and intuitive. And it really depends on you, how you like to put things across, any underlying methodologies or philosophies or approaches that you have. But a framework gives the client a pattern to follow. We see things in patterns and pictures, and people like, although they might not say that they like processes, the fact that they can see a way through something makes it really, really easy to use. So, you know, we give things a structure by creating a framework. So with the life blueprint, the structure is do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. With the wheel of self-love, it's let's do a checklist, and then we're going to go on and have a framework of things that we're going to do. And you can do a combination. So you could have a wheel and then a process. And that's what we have in the Wheel of Life workbook. We have the Wheel of Life, and then every single month it's the same questions. It's a framework within a framework, but we need the overall framework first. And you could do frameworks with, think Maslow's hierarchy. So you've got a pyramid. I can't remember what the Dilts thing is, but Dilts has a pyramid as well. Wheel of Life we've talked about. Your process might take people on a circular journey, or you might have steps. There is all kinds of different ways to pull your ideas together, but we need this kind of overarching framework for our journal, because people like to do things or see things in patterns and pictures. So you could do something like use a word, and I always use the word flourish. So you might have a chapter that is foundation, love, opportunity, understanding, reality, inspiration. I can't think of what an S and a H might be, but you know, off the top of my head, that wasn't bad. But you might have a word that is your process, and you can create a set of steps with your word. So, you know, we've got the pyramids, the triangles, the steps, the ladders, the quadrants. There's all kinds of things. You could have a wheel with keywords, which we do with a Wheel of Life or a Wheel of Self-Love. I love that kind of approach, and I like doing things where all the words begin with the same letter. Yes, I know, I'm a strange woman. Or we could have pillars, and within the pillars we can have frameworks. So just start to think, do I want a pyramid? Do I want like a Wheel of Life? Do I want to build something around a word? What would work for me? What would work for you? I know what works for me. What would work for you? So just scribble some things down now. So whether that's a pyramid or a wheel of some description, would it be something like a curve? So it's like the Kubler-Ross curve. Just scribble those down in your journal now. Whatever comes to mind, keep an open mind, scribble the first thing that comes to you. So, it might be a pyramid like Maslow's hierarchy. In fact, you can take the concepts of what other people have done. So if you take Maslow's hierarchy, I remember years ago, I used to teach marketing, gone many, many years ago, and I took Maslow's hierarchy and mapped sets of steps in a marketing process against his hierarchy. So you could do that. And I've read a book whose name completely escapes me, but used the unconscious competence model to take people through their process. So what comes to mind while you're thinking about your master framework? Just scribble something down. And then what will happen is, as the days go by, more ideas will come to you. Then what we want is a framework within a framework. So my best example of that is the Wheel of Life. So we start off each month by doing a Wheel of Life. And then we do assessments and set goals and reflections and look at our habits and action plans and stuff like that. It's framework within a framework. The framework is the wheel, and then within that, there's prompts and writing exercises. There's all sorts of things. So we have a master framework and then a framework within a framework, and it's designed so that you have a structure, so each part of the process is easy to follow. Now, I will show you some other journals that don't follow this, and those kind of things might suit you as well. So it's really about finding the right kind of journal for you to go with the right kind of clients and activities and products and services that you want to build. So we'll talk about that. So in your framework, you start with a wheel or an introduction or a, what is this? People like to know, the why, the what, and the how. So we have, a checklist or a wheel to test where we are. And then we have our steps in the process. And at the end of everything, it's always a good idea to ask people to reflect. So we have a master framework and then a framework within a framework. And that's what you're looking at here. So we've got the Wheel of Life is our overall framework, and then we have a framework within a framework. And that's how this particular journal works. So a framework within a framework. Now, what I do want to do is I just want to share some other kinds of journals with you. So this is a gratitude. In fact, let me just stop the share for a moment. So let's just look at some other kind of journals, because we've talked about frameworks. Now, this journal does actually have a framework, but it's very, very simple. So I do teach gratitude, probably a little bit different from other people. I remember talking to a friend of mine and saying I created a gratitude journal. I hate gratitude journals. All you do is write that 3 things down that you're grateful for the day. And I said, not the way I do it. So I love colouring. So what we have is each section has a mandala. So we have some questions and some prompts and some tips and things to think about. So the way that it works is you read the gratitude prompt, you think about it, then get all your coloured pens out and you colour in your mandala. And the reason that it's a small one is, if anyone colours in mandalas, you could be there all day doing it. So these are called mindful mandalas. And then you've got space to mind map and space to journal. And that is it. That is the whole. So there's 30 prompts, 30 mandalas. It's designed to be done over 30 days, but not everyone is going to sit and do it over 30 days. And what I suggest to people is that they if they can't get out for a walk, sit and do a gratitude thing, a mindful mandala, and that'll get you out of your head. So that's that's a framework, but a really, really simple framework. Now, many of you will have seen my little books of things, and this is called 101, or the little book of 101 affirmations to get you through the day. And same thing applies. There are little mandalas, and then there's a prompt. Now, at the very beginning of this journal, it says how to make this work. So I'll just show you how this, and you can use this for Oracle, doing Oracle cards as well. Let's have a think. Oh, today I give myself the gift of unconditional love and acceptance. And you might read that affirmation and go, no, I don't. And you feel real resistance. So the idea is you look at the affirmation, you choose it randomly, and then you look at the resistance, and then you attempt. So you write about the resistance and then try to reframe it. And what I suggest people do is that they read this, uncover the resistance, spend the day thinking about how you give yourself that gift of unconditional love and acceptance. And at the end of the day, dig your journal out and write about how that experience was for the day. But you can create journal books the same way. So you could have an image for people to reflect on, and then you have chosen this card today because. Now, I created this long before AI existed. Somebody asked me, did I create all of these myself, or did I get ChatGPT to do it? I did. I created this book years and years ago, and I wrote them all myself, and it took a long time. Believe you me, it was like, you start things and you think, God, I wish I hadn't done that. 101 affirmations, I must be mad. Now, you've seen the little book of gratitude, the little, so you've seen the gratitude habit, but you can do the same thing with gratitude prompts like this. So, if somebody doesn't want to color things in, they can just randomly choose something like this. What skills do you have that you appreciate having? And it's a lovely prompt because we often take our skills for granted. So that works the same way. Little book of affirmations for healing your heart works the same way. And that's a repeat of the gratitude thing. So it doesn't have to have a framework within a framework. It can be, one of these little books, and it can be something like this. So, but this could form part of a program that you're running about various different things, and each month or each quarter you have a journal. So there's lots and lots of different ways of doing this. So don't get stuck in there's just one way to skin a rabbit or rabbit. But I like a framework. I like to have a picture of what I'm doing and then work to that. Right, let's go back to our presentation. And it's there. So frameworks, think about a framework. What might work for you? So the next piece is looking at that roadmap that I talked about. So when you have created your journal, you will want to think about what else can I turn my journal into? So, excuse me, I am creating a whole load of stuff which will be around self-love. So I've included a few other little books up there, but I'm going to I'm in the process of creating this self-love collection, and I have a self-love course, I have a self-love mini course, I have a self-love challenge, and these are all things that I created some time ago, so I'm coming back and repurposing them all. But what I'm going to do with my content is sell them as content, but also sell them as private label rights for other people to pick them up, change them, and sell them as their own products and their own services. So decide how you're going to use your journal to attract and retain your clients. Create a lead magnet. Here we've got the 8-day self-love challenge, and then you can create courses and journals and other journals and workshops and masterminds and all kinds of things around your products. Now, no one is saying that you have to create all of this in one go. So if you can look at a roadmap, think about that vision. Your roadmap might be 12 months, it might be 24 months. But you can say, I'm going to start here. I've got my outline. I'm going to create my lead magnet. I'm going to run a workshop that's going to give me another lead magnet. Then what I'm going to do is, once I've got all that set up, I'm going to finish my journal. And then what I'm going to do is create a mini course, and then I create a program and a mastermind and maybe an online course. But you can't do it all in one go. So you need to map that all out, because one of the things we do not want is burnout. So, you know, poco a poco, as they say in Spain, a bit at a time. So as we said, ideas, work out the process, outline, create those lead magnets, build a roadmap. I think it sounds so easy. It takes time, but you'll be pleased that you thought about this at the beginning of the process, because it gives you something to focus on and new ways to engage with your clients. So the big picture of our roadmap is we can create our journal. That can give us a challenge, an ebook, a workshop. So these are our lead magnets. So this is where people sign up, give us their email address in return for something of value to them. Your journal then can become the content for a program or a mastermind. I could very easily turn this into a 12-week program and use both of these products, and then this could become a 12-month program where I'm working with people over a 12-month period to help them to really, transform and change their life. So the journal and the program, that's a great way of testing content. You're getting feedback from people who are using it live, and then you can create content for a course or a coaching program, or you can bundle things together. You could create a book, all kinds of things. It's, just step out of your comfort zone for a minute and just think, what might I create over the next 24 months that's going to help me to build my brand and build my business? And that's why at the very beginning, we talk about being in our zone of brilliance, getting out of our comfort zone and getting into this place where we sparkle. We are brilliant. We are doing what we love, passion, purpose, meaning, and profit. So just scribble a roadmap. What are you going to start with? So we've got the outline for a journal. That can maybe give us a challenge. Some people love to run live challenges. I find them quite exhausting now, so I tend to do them on email. And you can create, like I said, ebooks and workshops. I love short workshops like this. So what is going to go on your roadmap, and what is the first thing you'd like to create? Because once you have an outline, everything else can flow from it. It is seriously quite straightforward. And if, for example, you are creating a simpler one that is a gratitude journal, you could create a 5-day gratitude challenge and a little mini course to go with it. And then you can sell people into maybe a 30-day program with you. So there's, don't be limited by what you think could come out of your journal. There are so many ideas. So just map yourself out a roadmap. I'm not sure that makes sense. So what else could you use your journal for? Well, for me, it's about raising awareness and building your brand and your business. And when we create something, like these journals, we're creating authority. So, we become the expert in that particular area. So we can start with our journal, and then we can create all kinds of other things out of it. So remember that whatever you create, send them to your lead magnet. They'll sign up, get something of value, and then you're able to have a conversation with somebody, whoever they might be. And I like to map this out like I call it a hub and spoke. So your journal, the thing in the middle, and then out of this you can create blogs. And believe you me, you can create blogs out of this gratitude thing, because you could pick up any one of these things and expand it into a blog. Well, I can. I've expanded all kinds of things into blogs. So what I tend to do is because I like writing, I tend to go to my my journals and my workbooks and go, what's going to inspire me? So I'll pick up something to create a blog, and then I can create a video which might go on YouTube or TikTok. And out of that, then I can create posts for places like LinkedIn. So I tend to write a blog for the week, and out of the blog, pull out bits and pieces that I can use as posts over the week. So, you know, you can create all kinds of stuff from there. You can create infographics and little mini reels and things like that. So your journal is an amazing source of content that will help you to create all sorts of things. And some of you may well have done my blog your book course. You might want to write a journal, but actually you take it from, so create the outline and blog it, and then you can pull it all together. So, you know, you can do things in all kinds of ways. It's just, don't be restricted, but your journal idea is the central thing that you could create lots of content from. And when you created one piece of content like a blog, you can create something else out of that. So, you know, we have stuff, we have so much stuff. And when you're stuck for an idea, go to your journal, repurpose something, expand it, and you can be writing blogs based on your journal while you're writing your journal. Because what's great about this is you put it out there, and then you're going to get responses back and think, oh, that's a good idea. That's something that I've potentially missed. So we can create all kinds of content from our journals. So we've come to that point where we're going to ask the question, what journal are you going to write? So what journal, why are you doing it? Who's it for? What's the process? What's your framework? What's the content within that, the framework within the framework? What are the products and services, and what else can you create from it? And I seriously just invite you to scribble some stuff down. Whatever is in your head, empty your head now, shove it down in the journal that you've brought with you, because that will help you to reflect later. Write it down now while you have the opportunity, and then we want to do some reflection. Now, what I suggest that you do is scribble all that stuff down and then spend what I call a week of observation. What are people saying? What are other people commenting? What are you noticing? Just take a pen and a notebook wherever you go and just make a note, because that's going to help you come back to all the stuff that you've been doing with me now and expand it. And we need to reflect. We need to sit in that void, that space of opportunities and possibilities, and let the stuff come to us. So a week of observation, and then come back and replay and go through things, step by step.